campaign to start when they get an arts venue established in the it's been going for many years, it's not getting very far.
I'm Kim Bibby-Wilson and I'm Chairman of Morpeth Antiquarian Society. We're here today at a store alongside our colleagues from Friends of Morpeth Museum to look up, support and remind people about the wonderful heritage that Morpeth has and all the store of artefacts and documents and pictures and all sorts of things that we have currently in store as opposed to in a public accessible place within a museum in Morpeth.
So how long has Morpeth been in need of a museum of its own?
Well, there were calls during sort of Edwardian times by one of the mayors to have a museum, but the town museum did exist in the Chantry from 1965 as a seasonal thing in what had formerly been the ladies' toilets, and then we kick-started the Antiquarian Society and then others and then the councils joined in, kick-started a campaign to get the Chantry brought into very dignified cultural use for the town. It's the oldest building in the town, and we had a tourist office, the craft centre, the Bagpipe Museum, which were administered by the Borough Council, and the antiquarians had their own museum space within the building which was publicly accessible, changing exhibitions, and artefacts could be stored for the future. As that collection has expanded, and then unfortunately we were asked to leave the Chantry and install space in the town hall here in Ancillary Rooms. We continue to catalogue and put exhibitions on a temporary basis in the town hall and elsewhere. Then further council cuts meant that in 1997, having been removed from the Chantry, we then in 2010 were removed from the town hall and ended up in other council facilities, sort of backstage, and are now unfortunately having to pay a commercial rent in the Union building at Pegswood for a very nice office, but it's not in Morpeth, it's not accessible to the public, it's not big enough for displays as well as the storage that we have to maintain and conserve and research all the information and the items that we've got. So we're just hoping that people will think it's about time that we got a museum back into the town, having had one for 35 years.
So what are the main stumbling blocks? Are they financial, or are they finding a building that's suitable?
Yeah, all of that, and the manpower as well, because obviously life is very different from the earlier optimistic phases when things were being set up. But interestingly, I heard somebody talking about after a pandemic, you usually find a great resurgence of enthusiasm and people wanting to pursue what's really important to them. This happened after the Second World War, when our society was founded by people, and we hope that people might think, well, what really does matter? And to the people of Morpeth, as we've seen from a lot of the responses today, talking to people and getting the replies, our heritage is part of the town's identity, and the famous people, the trades, the industry, the events that have happened in our past and right up to the modern time, which is becoming part of history. We need to celebrate and record and not lose a lot of those survivors of family life and domestic life and civic life and community life. So the enthusiasm is there, it's getting commitment, it's getting volunteers, it's getting funding, which can be done. The town has raised money in the past for the cottage hospital, for the swimming pool, long before the buildings were ever there. So I believe that the human spirit can continue in that vein. We can probably tap into it somewhere, but finding the capacity and the manpower and the funding and the premises to be accessible is going to be challenging, but I'm sure we're up to it.
Nevertheless, today I suppose you must have been encouraged by the responses that you've had.
Certainly, we always are whenever we've had an opportunity to have a small drop-in event or weekend exhibition. We get a lot of enthusiasm, and there's always some little links, a bit of networking that's very, very useful for the future. We've had a few booths today, and also it means that we've been visible amongst all these other developments that are being highlighted to remind some of the developers and the councils and so on what has been important in the past and what is important for the future, because you don't know who you are if you don't know where you've been and who your ancestors were.